Hi guys, welcome metaphysicmedia.com. And so today's video and article and topic is a book written by Lee Elders, and the book is called Expeditions, Gold, Shamans, and Green Fire. So it's a pretty cool book. I've almost halfway through. I've done a lot of reading on this guy. He's quite the adventurer. Before we get to the article and my thoughts, we'll do some navigation of the site. If you're on the podcast version, bear with me. I'll go through it quick. If you're on the webcast version, you can see how you can do it, how you can contribute to my site, and how you can interact. Anyway, you can go to subscription Metaphysic Media. You put your email in. Basically, you get a newsletter every month, and it'll recap and have videos and text and all that sort of thing for that month. So I'm not going to spam you. It's more informational. I'm going to sell you something. Yeah, I don't like that. Unless it's a good deal, but I digress. And then also podcasts. We have the podcast section, which is the webcast version, but it's put into an audio only. So you can guys go there on metaphysicmedia.com and hit podcasts. I put some up every day, being 20 to 45 minutes long, so there should be no problem there. Now, subscribe through email. We already talked about it. You can subscribe and comment through Facebook, facebook.com/metaphysic.media. Twitch TV /metaphysic media. Twitter.com/metaphysic media. YouTube.com/metaphysic media. So, all those are good subscription ways to get a hold of me. However, Twitch, I'll talk to about a little bit. After I create the article and video, I will replay the video over the stream while I'm playing video games. And you are more welcome to have online chat with me because I'm live. And you can share your comments, thoughts, or something maybe it's totally off topic from the topic that or article and video that I created. No big deal. No big deal at all. You can do that. And then the other way to navigate my site is submitting a story. So if you saw a UFO yesterday, you have a picture of, a ghost picture, like what the heck is this? Or there's chemtrails in the sky. Look at that. Why are there planes putting white stuff that hazes up our sky and turns into clouds at late afternoon? I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever. You can submit a story, pictures, what have you. We'll read them during live streams. I'll do it during newsletters once a month. I'll put those ideas and thoughts in there. It's very good. And everybody likes a story. You can share a story, and we have lots of subscribers, lots of people watching us. So it'll be exciting for everybody. And then everybody will talk about it too and share their own thoughts. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And then live stream, which is the embedded URL to twitch.tv/metaphysic media. If you don't want to go to that site and do it, you can watch it embedded on my site. You just can't follow me or chat. It's the only downside. Contacting us. So here's the thing. If you have written a book that's on Amazon, or you're just an author, or you have a Facebook account where you have something you want to talk about for at least 3 minutes, you can contact me. We can talk over Skype or phone call, what have you. It doesn't matter. And then I will post at the very least a transcript with your name on my site, and then linking to your book if I can create an article out of it. So that's always a good thing. The About Us talks about me, my personal life a little bit, and then the paranormal experience that I've had, which is the only one. Well, I've had a paranormal experience twice, but it was the same type of thing twice. So I've only had one paranormal experience twice. If that makes sense. Anyway, so let's get into the article written for Lee Elders. Lee Elders is an accomplished adventurer and investigator, and his book Expeditions, Gold, Shamans, and Green Fire chronicles his journey into Ecuadorian jungle in the pursuit of truth and treasure. And I like treasure. If I had the money in the world, I would love to travel around searching for treasure. This guy's an adventurer. He just does it. He is quite the guy, as you'll find out through the article. Lee Elder's expeditions take place during the late 1960s. When Elders first caught the scent of high-grade emeralds called green fire, which is a rare color for emerald, by the way, if you guys didn't know, somewhere deep in the jungles of the Orient, an area of eastern Ecuador, which includes parts of the Andes and famously dangerous Amazon River. You know about Amazon rivers, lots of stuff are named after Amazon. We won't go there because it's crazy and dangerous, but whatever. This is where we begin the Lee Elder biography. Well, it will become a biography, but let's hope he keeps having adventures and continues writing and interviewing. So anyway, does he and Lee Eller's expedition discuss any legal obstacles to gaining passage into the part of the Orient? Well, no, not really. There was virtually no human activity in the land where elders sought the rumored green fire. It was speculated that Elders was the first white man to ever visit the swath of territory. And that might be true. If, you know, how remote you get out there, indigenous tribes could say, I've never seen that guy. And then I don't even know what they think. But anyway, which was even unknown to most of the natives. Certainly there was no mining claims or disputes of ownership to deter Lee Elders from his mission. And his first expedition into the jungle was largely successful. Of course, no rare stones were discovered, but in terms of exploration, his team achieved what they had sought to achieve. The second expedition did not go so well, and he discusses this in depth in his book, Expeditions, Gold, Shamans, and Green Fire. If you want to purchase this book, which I should have done early in the show, it's http://www.metaphysicmedia.com gold shamans end green fire. If you go to that, you can get the book, or watch a video or read the article, and you can link right to it. Not a big deal. Anyway, let's get back to the article. Due to personal conflicts and Lee Elder's own health concerns, the first expedition and the team was forced to turn back. Due to illness, Elders has lost about 30 pounds at this point. You know, if you're not eating, you know, you might have water that's not quite sanitary, who knows? It's easy to get sick if you're not in your own confines of your house where everything seems to be plumbed and you know any of that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So basically, when you emerge from the jungle that second time, you return home to Arizona to convalesce. Right? Because anybody would want to do that. It was while living and working in Phoenix that Lee Elders received a friend from a translator, Andriano Ventimiglia. Ventimiglia had been a member of Lee Elders' expedition originally. The compelling argument that there were, in fact, high-grade emeralds hidden somewhere in the Orient. So that would excite me if somebody told me that there's emeralds hidden somewhere in the jungle. That would get my eyes and thoughts working to want to try to find these things. Or at least go back a second, third time. These documents included the last will and testament of an Ecuadorian man named Rafael Mejia. So, how exactly did these documents convince Ventimiglia and Elders that there were truly emeralds in the Orient? Well, Mejia's last will and testament included, in uncommon detail, the story of exactly how he had found the emeralds. At that time, he was working as a hunter for a company of quinine harvesters. I think that's the proper pronunciation, hopefully. And on this particular day, he was hunting a bear. He was tracking the bear for some time before he cornered it in a rock ridge, shot the bear, and then eventually killed it. The dying bear tumbled down the rock ridge. That's not so good for the bear. Anyway, Mejia saw something as the bear fell. It descended the ridge and it broke loose fragments of rock. And Mejia saw that they were green and they sparkled. So Mejia thought he had found a tourmaline, which is a certain type of precious rock. He went to the ridge and inspected the quality of the rock. He found white matrix formations with green that glittered in the sunlight. This could only have been tourmaline or emeralds. And so, when you see those two things, they're vastly, those stones are vastly similar. So you have to know what you're doing to be able to distinguish between the two. But apparently he did, and that's why he wrote this letter to Lee Elders. But on the off chance that he had found emeralds, he took a sample from the ridge and brought it to the foreman, who sent the sample to France for testing. In addition to the fragment, Mejia presented to his foreman. He kept a much larger piece for himself, of course. I mean, why not, right? Hide it. In letters to his family. Mejia described the piece as weighing somewhere around 75 pounds. So, a 75-pound emerald? I will keep my mouth shut for that. Somebody email that to me or mail that to me. And I'm not going to tell anybody. So, on the way to his house in Tambo, on the river Santa Rosa, Mejia hid the heavy stone fragment inside another rock. This all happened in about 1881. So, this was a while ago. Unfortunately, the 1880s were a very tumultuous time in Ecuador, and while waiting for results from the French laboratory, he was conscripted to fight in the revolutions far from his home. He fought for the losing side. In the process, he lost a leg. It was at that point in 1887 that Mejia decided to drop his last will and testament. Under Ecuadorian law, Mejia had to list the entirety of his holdings in his will, and he thought of the potential emerald mine. I mean, he still had no confirmation on the nature of the stones as his property. He also suspected that if he explicitly listed the location of his find, that greedy prospectors would take advantage of his family. And that's always the case in any time you find some type of secret or technology or have any types of stones. Tell somebody, they're trying to take advantage of you. So instead he wrote a riddle. The answer was to reveal the location of the emeralds. While researching Mejia's claims that any army base in Cuenca, I think that's how you pronounce it, Lee Elders and Adriano Ventimiglia met a Catholic priest who also claimed to have found white matrix emeralds in the Orient. For Elders, these two independent sources were evidence enough that there were emeralds in Ecuador, and they were hidden somewhere near the river Santa Rosa, which means a big one that Mejia hid. But there should be more somewhere if somebody wants to adventure into that and mine. There should be more. Anyway, back to the story. So whatever became of the samples sent to France that were found during the Lee Elders expeditions? There is documentation that the French laboratory pronounced the sample to be emerald, of the highest quality, which is unbelievably a good thing for Mejia and Elders. The fragment was shipped back to Ecuador, but never made it into Mejia's hands. Instead, the sample was taken by the foreman who Mejia had originally entrusted with the stone. And that's where it goes bad. You trust somebody and they find out the financial price of that stone. You know, every man has his price, basically. So anyway, news out of Emerald reached a British politician who lived and worked in Quito, a man named Hamilton. Mejia's will and associated letters explain that Hamilton purchased the fragment from the foreman for an outrageous 300 gold pesos. So 300 gold pesos is not that much, friends. That guy got a steal. At least in today's world. Maybe 60 bucks. Don't quote me on that. You can comment later if you want to. But fragment's probably worth a heck of a lot more these days. So anyway, what was it that led Lee Elders to seek emeralds in Ecuador, even prior to obtaining these documented claims? It is known that the Incas worked with emeralds. In the 1500s, the Incas in Peru greeted the Spanish explorer Pizarro with gifts of emerald and gold because they believed him to be a god. Pizarro and his men desired more of the riches, and their greed sparkled a violent period of conquest, religious conversion, and ultimately torture. Then mines, unfortunately, were never found. It is also well known and documented that neighboring Colombia is an emerald producer. Rare emeralds have come from Colombia's Muzo mine. Lee Elders' expeditions had a wealth of evidence in that region supporting emerald production. So if you want to possibly go to the Colombia to find those emerald productions, that's where you go. Be careful. So anyway, how did Lee Elders solve Mejia's riddle, which had gone unsolved for merely 100 years? Well, the rough translation of the riddle reads, like making a relation. The entrance is by the Cascabel, and it takes crossing the first river upstream. So elders assumed the entrance was the entrance to the cave where Mejia had the stories. But what he did not know was Mejia meant by cascabel. Their word was three distinct meanings. An actual bell, the protrusion at the end of the cannon, or a snake. So, elders spent weeks attempting to divine the meaning of the riddle before finally admitting defeat and returning home to Arizona. While at home, Lee elders decided to bring the last will and testament to a psychic named Dr. Richard Ireland. Ireland worked out at a nightclub in Phoenix, and elders attended a show. Ireland specialized in psychometry, or token object reading. He immediately announced that he had a book in his hands and went on to name two rivers that were listed in Mejia's papers. And so Elders was very impressed, and with Elders' performance that he made arrangements for a private reading. During the second reading, Ireland told Elders that Mejia had been a meticulous man who made a few mistakes, and Mejia's nickname had been El Sapo, or the Toad. Ireland reported that, like making a relations, had to do with the connecting elements of a series in a progressive manner, meaning elders would find a second clue upon locating the cascabel. He also believed that cascabel was in reference to a waterfall of some kind, and that the entrance reference in the riddle was not a cave at all, but elders followed the advice of the psychic. Armed with the answer to the riddle, what was the process of getting back out of the jungle? Well, the most valuable secrets he only reveals in his book, Expeditions, Gold, Shamans, and Green Fire, which you can get the book at metaphysicmedia.com /books/gold shamans and green fire. You can buy it. It's a fantastic book. I'm almost 3/4 done. I would recommend it. It's like an adventure. If anybody likes a good story of adventure, I would get that book. So anyway, let's proceed. So at that time, Elders excursion, the Ecuadorian government was building a road that would cut across and into the easternmost part of the country. But it was not yet complete, so Elders' team was forced to fly into the region predetermined by an advanced expedition team. The advanced team had made contact with a man named Antonio Necta, a Sharu shaman. Sharu refers to a specific Ecuadorian tribe. The Spaniards gave the name Javaro to the eastern Ecuadorian tribe people, but they considered it to be a pejorative term, or maybe provocative term, or however you want to say it. So Necta owned the land across the elders, land across which elders would have had to travel for the first leg of his journey. So Santa Rosa River, Necta, was a Panar Uwashin, a specific kind of shaman who specializes in healing and other good magic. The opposite of the Uwashin is a Wawik, an evil trickster shaman. Necta served as a guide to elders and warned that he would run into a Wawik in his journey. So Necta led Lee Elders team on many expeditions because often they were forced to turn back due to uncrossable rivers. One river in particular, the Tigris, gave elders the most trouble. It was difficult to cross, and according to natives, uncommonly aggressive jaguars lived across the river. It was rumored that these jaguars would hunt in packs, which is not in the jaguar's nature to do, which one jaguar hunting you is not a good thing. A pack of them is goodbye. I don't want to be there, right? Obviously. So, on the fourth expedition, Elders hired a second guide to get his team across the river. And they made it all the way across to the Kanad number one in the Makas forest. Another Shuar man on the Elders team, Ambusha, warned Elders against camping on the Quanada River. He said the spirits would not like it, and it was Elders' intention to heed the advice of Ambusha. Unfortunately, Elders' team lost track of time, and they were forced one night to make camp in the Kianad number one. The shaman Nekta guided the team to a cave that night and warned Elders' team not to draw their weapons under any circumstances, unless it was truly a matter of life and death. And they settled in for the night, and these were the sounds of deadly parrot snakes in the trees directly overhead. The snakes were cooing to the birds. They would eat them. Elders could not hear the birds squawking and fighting fruitfully, or Elders could hear the birds squawking and fighting fruitfully for their lives. One snake made it into the cave. Elders saw and slithered right by Nectar's shoulders. He shouted at the team to light the fires, and the trees began to grow quiet again as the snakes retreated from the smoke and the flames. So anyway, this is a good book, and you can read the rest of the crazy story if you read the book Expeditions, Gold, Shamans, Green Fire. You can get the book at metaphysic-media.com/books/gold-and-green-fire. And so this is a really cool book. If you're an adventurer, you like the outdoors, this is a good story for you to read. And there's a lot more in the book than what I've created from this article and research. So have fun. You'll love it. And we can talk about it sometime. You throw me an email, a story. Talk about my twitch.tv/metaphysicmedia. Video game live chat. You'll have fun with it. Have fun. Until the next time, God bless you guys. I love you all.